Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
You seek strength, but you chase comfort. You demand power, yet you flee from struggle. You have been conditioned to expect instant reward, to taste pleasure before you have earned it. That is why you are weak. That is why you will always kneel before those who understand the laws of time. Patience, restraint, discipline. These are the virtues of those who rise above the masses. Those who rush toward gratification are nothing but cattle, led by their own fleeting desires, controlled by forces they do not even recognize. You believe freedom lies in indulgence, but you are mistaken. True freedom is the ability to wait, to resist, to endure the storm without breaking. The strong do not feast when hunger strikes. They wait until they can take what is rightfully theirs, and when they do, they devour everything in their path. You believe you are entitled to success simply because you desire it. You are wrong. Every empire that has ever stood, every leader who has ever ruled understood that time is not an enemy. It is a weapon. They waited, they suffered, they sacrificed. And when the moment was right, they struck with such force that the world trembled beneath them. But you cannot wait 5 minutes without distraction, cannot resist a craving without surrendering to weakness. You seek validation before the work is done, pleasure before the battle is fought. That is why you will never rise. That is why you will always serve those who can. Because the man who can delay his reward is the man who controls his destiny. You do not understand pain. Not truly. You believe suffering is to be avoided. You believe struggle is something to escape. But I tell you now, suffering is the only path to greatness. The weak avoid it, and in doing so, they remain weak. The strong embrace it, knowing that every moment of suffering is a brick in the foundation of their power. Pain is the fire that forges kings, the hammer that shapes the unbreakable. To deny it is to deny yourself transformation. And so when others seek escape, you must seek endurance. When others flee, you must stand. When they break, you must remain. The moment you learn to love the process more than the reward, you will have won. You have been sold a lie. The world tells you that gratification should be immediate, that if you desire something, you should have it now. That is why you scroll endlessly, why you consume without limit, why you chase empty pleasures without understanding that every indulgence is another chain around your neck. The truth is simple yet brutal. Pleasure is the slave's reward. The weak seek it in the present, and in doing so they trade away their future. But the strong delay. They resist. They understand that power is not given. It is taken, and it is taken by those who are willing to wait longer, to suffer deeper, to outlast those who fall at the first sign of hardship. You see, time is the great equalizer. All men are given the same hours, the same days. But what separates the rulers from the ruled is what they do with that time. The masses squander it on distractions, chasing meaningless pleasures, while the few, the very few, build their empire in silence. They wake before the world. They work while others sleep. They deny themselves today so that they may own tomorrow. The impatient man begs for scraps. The patient man takes the entire table. You cannot call yourself strong if you cannot control your urges. If you cannot deny yourself comfort, you will never know true power. For power does not belong to those who seek the easy path. It belongs to those who can walk through the fire without flinching. You believe resistance is suffering, but I tell you, true suffering is weakness. True suffering is being ruled by your impulses, being owned by your desires, being at the mercy of your own lack of discipline. The man who can say no to pleasure, to ease, to temptation, is the man who will own everything in the end. Do you understand now? Do you see why you fail? It is not because you lack talent. It is not because the world is unfair. It is because you are ruled by your need for instant gratification. Every moment you waste, every indulgence you give into, is another chain wrapped around your throat. You are not free. You are a prisoner to your own mind. And unless you learn to control it, unless you learn to delay, to endure, to suffer for something greater, you will never rise beyond mediocrity. You want success? Then suffer for it. You want power? Then bleed for it. You want to rise? Then learn to wait, to outlast, to starve before you feast. Those who cannot delay gratification will never know what it means to rule. But those who can endure longer than anyone else, they will own everything. They will stand above the weak and look down upon those who could not resist their own desires. The human brain is a machine built for survival, not foresight. It clings to what is immediate, what is tangible, what can be touched, tasted, or consumed in the present moment. It does not see the future version of you as an extension of yourself. It sees a stranger, someone distant, unfamiliar, disconnected from your current experience. This is why you crave indulgence now rather than sacrificing for what could be. The brain does not register the future self-suffering as its own. It does not feel the weight of future consequences with the same urgency that it feels present desires. The moment you recognize this flaw, you gain an advantage over the masses who are slaves to their impulses. If you can forge a connection with the person you are becoming, if you can see yourself in the days, months, and years ahead, then the pain of discipline today transforms into the foundation of your power tomorrow. This is the art of delayed gratification, not mere willpower, but the ability to bridge the gap between who you are and who you will be, to make decisions as if the future you is already standing before you, watching, waiting, demanding more. To master this, you must first eliminate the illusion of separation between your present self and your future self. The weak live for the now because they believe tomorrow will always take care of itself. They assume their future self will have more discipline, more motivation, more strength to face what they avoid today. But this is a lie they tell themselves to justify surrender. The truth is brutal. If you cannot endure discomfort now, you will not develop the strength to endure it later. Every indulgence that weakens you today compounds into a heavier burden for your future self. Every moment of procrastination is another chain wrapped around the throat of the man you are supposed to become. But when you begin to view your future self as an extension of you, as someone who will pay the price for every weakness you allow now, the urgency shifts. It is no longer about resisting temptation for the sake of resistance. It is about protecting the empire you are building, ensuring that the man who will stand in your place in the years ahead is not kneeling before the consequences of your inaction. This is why the strongest men, the most disciplined warriors, the ones who seem untouchable in their mastery of self-control, do not view sacrifice as suffering. They see it as an investment, a negotiation between the present and the future. Every moment of struggle today is a debt paid in full to the future self who will collect the rewards. They do not separate their identities into past, present, and future. They unify them into a singular path, an unbreakable timeline where every action serves the greater goal. The weak operate in fragments. They live as if their present choices do not shape their future reality. They disconnect from the responsibility of their own evolution, believing that success is something they will stumble upon rather than something they must suffer for. The disciplined, however, see the grand design. They recognize that every bite of indulgence now is a knife in the back of the man they will become. They know that every time they choose the harder path, they are carving out the shape of the warrior who will inherit their efforts. If you want to rise, you must begin to see your future self as real, as alive, as breathing. You must hear his voice in the back of your mind warning you, guiding you, demanding more. You must feel his presence when you stand before temptation, asking yourself if the short-lived pleasure is worth betraying the empire you're constructing. If you could meet him face to face, if you could stand before the man you're supposed to become, would he look at you with disappointment? Would he see weakness in your eyes? Would he shake his head at the shortcuts you take, the opportunities you waste, the comforts you refuse to part with? Or would he see a man who understood the weight of responsibility, who knew that every second counted, that every battle fought today was a victory earned for tomorrow? The more you connect with that vision, the easier it becomes to deny the lesser self. You must take control of your mind, force it to recognize that your future self is not some distant concept, but a living consequence of your choices now. When you fail to delay gratification, you are not harming a version of yourself that exists in a distant timeline. You are harming the very person you are becoming with each passing second. The pain you ignore today will be the suffering he carries on his back. The strength you fail to cultivate now will be the weakness he is forced to bear. The discipline you avoid will manifest as the regret he drowns in. This is the ultimate truth of self-mastery. You are always paying a price, whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. You either suffer now voluntarily in pursuit of greatness, or you suffer later, involuntarily under the weight of your own neglect. There's no escaping the cost. You can only choose when you will pay it. The masses do not think this way. They assume that avoiding hardship today means they have escaped it entirely. But the laws of time do not work that way. The price never disappears, it only compounds, building interest, waiting to be collected. And when it comes due, it does not ask permission. It arrives with the force of reality, crashing down upon those who refuse to prepare. The disciplined do not fear this, they understand it. They pay their debts in sweat and struggle today so that they do not drown in regret tomorrow. They accept the discomfort, the hunger, the strain, knowing that they are buying freedom with every act of sacrifice. The ability to delay gratification is the single most important skill in forging an unbreakable mind. Every great achievement in history was born from those who could endure what others could not. The warrior who resists comfort becomes unstoppable. The man who sees the future as his responsibility rather than an accident of fate becomes untouchable. He does not fear struggle because he knows it is temporary. He does not crave easy victories because he knows they are hollow. He understands that the longer he waits, the more he endures, the greater his reward. And when he finally steps forward to claim what is his, the world will not question whether he deserves it. Now the question is simple. Will you continue to live as if the future is a separate entity, a stranger you can ignore? Or will you finally take ownership, finally acknowledge that the man you will become is watching, waiting, measuring your worth? Every choice you make is shaping him, strengthening or weakening him. Every moment of indulgence is a moment stolen from his greatness. Every sacrifice is another brick in the empire he will inherit. You have the power to decide who he will be, but once that time comes, once you meet him, you will no longer have a say. You will look him in the eye and see what you have built or what you have destroyed. The mind is wired to seek meaning in struggle. When a task is too simple, too effortless, it carries little weight in the depths of the subconscious. The satisfaction gained from an instant reward is fleeting, dissolving as quickly as it arrived. But effort, true effort, etches itself into the mind, creating a sense of fulfillment that lingers far beyond the moment of achievement. This is why those who master patience in high-effort tasks feel a deeper sense of purpose than those who chase immediate gratification. The brain, built for survival and adaptation, has learned through centuries of hardship that effort signifies worth. The more difficult the journey, the greater the reward. Those who understand this internal mechanism gain an advantage over those who fall prey to the illusion of easy success. Mastery over self is not found in what comes quickly, but in what requires sacrifice, persistence, and the willingness to endure when others fold. A life of ease breeds a mind of dissatisfaction. When everything is handed without struggle, without challenge, it loses its meaning. The reason discipline brings fulfillment is not because it leads to achievement alone, but because the act of discipline itself is a battle won. The process of delaying gratification, of holding out through effort, creates something far more valuable than the final result. It creates identity. It shapes perception, alters the way the mind interprets reality. This is why those who seek only instant pleasure are often left empty, despite their indulgences. Their victories are hollow because they required nothing from them. The foundation of meaning is effort, and the deeper the effort, the greater the sense of worth. The road of patience is long, but at its end lies something the impatient will never know: fulfillment that does not fade, a sense of accomplishment that does not decay under the weight of time. The battle for delayed gratification is not just about resisting temptation. It is about forging a deeper connection to the value of effort itself. The more one engages in high-effort tasks, the more the mind begins to associate patience with power. Consider those who build with their hands, who create from nothing, who carve their own path through persistence rather than shortcuts. Their sense of fulfillment is not merely in the final product, but in the process of overcoming. Those who have never known hardship, who have never labored for something beyond the immediate, struggle to understand why their lives feel empty despite having everything they thought they wanted. The answer is simple. They have never earned it. Without effort, there is no true appreciation. Without patience, there is no depth to success. The mind requires challenge to feel a sense of worth, and those who embrace this truth rise above those who seek only what is easy. The illusion of modern comfort has led many to believe that ease is the goal, that the less effort something requires, the better. This mindset is a deception. The greatest minds, the strongest wills are forged through friction, through adversity, through the willingness to persist when the body and mind beg for relief. The satisfaction of victory is magnified by the struggle that precedes it. When the mind recognizes the weight of the effort behind an achievement, it attaches meaning to it. A goal attained without struggle is forgotten. A goal attained through relentless patience and perseverance becomes part of the individual's core, an unshakable pillar of identity. This is why the ability to delay gratification is not just a skill. It is the foundation upon which an unbreakable mindset is built. Many wonder why they feel disconnected from their own achievements. They acquire what they once desired, yet it does not bring the expected satisfaction. The reason is clear. The difficulty of acquisition determines the value the mind places upon it. When effort is absent, meaning is absent. Those who have trained their minds to withstand discomfort, to embrace the long road, to persist beyond the point of exhaustion, find a depth of satisfaction that others will never touch. The world has convinced many that happiness lies in the immediate, in the effortless, in the quick reward. But the truth has never changed. Lasting fulfillment comes only from what is earned. The greater the struggle, the more profound the sense of victory. The ability to delay gratification is the ability to carve meaning into one's own existence, to create a narrative of perseverance rather than fleeting indulgence. The human mind has been shaped through centuries of hardship. It does not register ease as valuable because for most of history, survival demanded effort. This instinct remains buried beneath the distractions of modern excess. The reason an easy life breeds dissatisfaction is because it goes against the very nature of the mind's reward system. Those who master patience in difficult tasks are not simply training for success. They are reconnecting with the fundamental truth of human nature. They are aligning themselves with the process of growth, of effort leading to meaning, of struggle leading to transformation. The more one trains the mind to embrace effort, the more natural delayed gratification becomes. The more natural it becomes, the greater the fulfillment that follows. Mastering patience is not about denying oneself indefinitely. It is about shifting the perspective from reward-seeking to process-seeking. It is about understanding that the journey itself holds more value than the destination. Those who train for years to master a craft, who dedicate themselves to a vision that requires time, who build habits that stretch beyond the immediate, find something the impulsive never will, a sense of self that is unshaken by circumstances. The patient do not chase fleeting pleasure because they are too occupied with building something permanent. They do not seek escape from discomfort because they have learned to harness it, to use it as fuel. When the mind associates patience with progress, delayed gratification no longer feels like deprivation. It becomes a source of power. Every high-effort task mastered, every challenge endured, strengthens the connection between patience and reward. The reason most people struggle with long-term success is not due to lack of opportunity or intelligence, but because they have never trained their mind to see the future as worth more than the present. The strongest foundations are built in the moments where quitting feels most tempting, in the hours of exhaustion, where the only thing separating failure from success is the ability to wait longer. Those who achieve the highest levels of fulfillment do not have more talent or luck. They have simply mastered the ability to persist when others have given up. They have trained their minds to recognize that every moment of suffering is an investment, that every second of patience is carving out something greater than instant pleasure ever could. The art of delayed gratification is the art of reclaiming the mind from its default state. It is the process of reshaping thought patterns, of rewiring impulses, of turning patience into the primary mechanism of success. The ability to endure, to persist, to see the long-term value of effort is what separates those who thrive from those who merely exist. The deeper the patience, the greater the fulfillment. The greater the fulfillment, the stronger the connection between effort and identity. Those who embrace this path do not see themselves as mere participants in life's events. They become the architects of their own destiny,